The walls are closing in on Joe Biden and Jill Biden. 3 days ago, a clip was released from the Biden's testimony in the Hur investigation into his classified documents scandal. Tomorrow, CNN anchor Jake Tapper's book is coming out, the one about the giant conspiracy to cover up Joe Biden's dementia. And in both of those things, Joe Biden's coming out looking pretty bad. So is everybody around him. And so, just to surprise us yesterday in a twist, Jill and Joe Biden decided to announce that Joe's got stage 4 cancer. Very interesting timing, isn't it? Is this going to be used as a defense? Is this just some sort of a distraction or maybe a ploy for sympathy? Well, it's probably a little bit of all of those things. But in any case, this is the largest scandal ever perpetuated on the American people when you take all three of these things and more into consideration. And as I was getting ready tonight to talk to you about the biggest con job ever put over on the American people, I was getting sick to my stomach. This is personal. It is personal for every single one of us who have been used, abused, and lied to by our government. Not only during the Biden administration, but I can't even imagine what went on in the 20, 30 years leading up to it that gave them so much just gall to do this. I'd like to know who was running the country. We all deserve some answers. Who was wasting our money? Who opened the borders? Who subjected us to rampant inflation, rape, robbery, murder by illegal aliens? Unbelievable taxation, Afghan withdrawal disasters. I mean, we could go on all day about what went on, and we need to know who's in charge. But first, let's start off with a word from the man of the hour, Joe Biden himself.
Oh, she knew so long as she was 9.
That's about as clear as his entire presidency was. I'm trying to not be furious because I really, it's just not who I want to be. I don't want to be this angry. But when we've been played so hard, and not just that, it's not just about us. These people completely destroyed the country. I don't know if we will ever be able to regroup after what has happened here. Will we ever be able to find the 500,000 children that are missing from the border invasion, that are in slavery and sex trafficking now? Will they ever recover? Anyway, we've known for years that there was a major cover up, right? I mean, this guy's just been walking around like this for his entire presidency. And since even before that, even during his run up to his presidency, we knew he wasn't all there. Last year, when he decided he was going to run again, and then he had to drop out after that disastrous debate because his drug cocktail wasn't right and he couldn't keep it together. But still, he signed executive order after executive order, made decision after decision, signed bills into law with an auto pen. And we're now trying to figure out who was behind the auto pen. All of the pardons that he signed. Are they valid? We're going to need to know. The media, Congress, the White House, his staff, they all knew he was incapacitated. They all covered up for him. We're all sitting here being gaslit day after day when we're saying we can see with our own eyes. We know what a senile old man looks like because we've been alive for more than 5 minutes. But no, we got lied to and lied to and lied to. Now the pressure is mounting. Okay, let's start with the book. Jake Tapper's book is coming out tomorrow. It's called Original Sin. I'm going to read to you. Oh, funny enough, Jake Tapper, the CNN anchor who's writing the book about the cover up to Joe Biden's dementia, he covered up Joe Biden's dementia the whole time. But you know what? I'm going to put him aside because he is small freaking potatoes compared to what our own government did to us. Here's a description of the book. From two of America's most respected journalists, an unflinching and explosive reckoning with one of the most fateful decisions in American political history. Joe Biden's run for re-election despite evidence of his serious decline. amid desperate efforts to hide the extent of that deterioration. Explosive, the New York Times. The Atlantic says this is the most significant book to date about Biden's cognitive decline. The LA Times says superbly reported, reads like a Shakespearean drama on steroids. Politico, the book Biden allies fear the most. These people all covered up for him, and now they're writing little promos for the book. Like what? Like we weren't here the whole time watching you lie to the American people and prop this man up like Weekends at Bernie's for years? Are you kidding? Okay, I'm going to stop yelling. Maybe. Oh, this makes me smile. It shouldn't make me smile. It should make me angry again. But here we are. Remember this? That's the man they're calling the best president in history, who was totally with it the whole time, and who now they're still, again, defending his acuity when the Easter Bunny had to come and get him from talking to people so he didn't continue to make a fool out of himself. And then he wandered off, lost again. The Easter Bunny had to go back, follow him again. Anyway, good times. Early last year, the Hur report came out. Now, you may remember that Joe Biden had boxes and boxes of classified documents just hanging out in the garage at his Delaware house, which from his time as vice president, and vice presidents aren't allowed to do that. In that garage, coming and going, was also his crackhead influence peddling son, Hunter. So these documents were really not in a good spot. So Robert Hur, the DOJ special attorney, he turned around and he said, we're going to do an investigation. And as part of that investigation, he interviewed Biden. And after he interviewed Biden, he came out and he was like, yeah, there's really, we're not really going to be able to investigate this because we don't think he could withstand testimony. He's just like a frail old man and he means well. The DOJ said that. Okay, so he wasn't fit to stand trial for the classified documents scandal, but he was fit to continue running the country and then again to run for a second term. Okay. All right, that's fine. So last week, or 3 days ago, actually, 4 minutes and 25 seconds of the audio of that interview was released for the first time. We've had the transcript. And we weren't, up until now, the general public hadn't heard for themselves whether or not, Biden was with it. So here's a small sample of just how little Biden knew what was going on.
Keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying.
So at this point, they're asking him about where the papers were. Where did he keep the papers? He says, I don't know. And then he starts to make excuses for why he doesn't know, because he was distracted, because he says it was 2017, 2018. At that point, my son Bo was either deployed or dying. He was neither deployed nor dying because Bo had died 3 years earlier than that in 2015. The man had just no idea of any sense of time frame. Now, I personally, people could say, and then they made excuses for him later, like, oh, anybody could mix up dates. Like, no. Somebody who is running the country should be sharp as a tack. I want this person to be so much smarter than the average Jane or Joe that they just blow us all out of the water and we can barely keep up because they're so smart. That's what I want. Somebody that can remember the year that their son died, especially when it wasn't that many years ago. But anyway, there's another clip I'm going to share with you. This one, you'll notice they're helping him.
month did Bo die? God, May 30th,
2015.
was it 2015 he had died?
It's May 2015.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think that was.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that and Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, why do I have 2017 here?
That's when you left office, January of 2017.
Okay.
That's when you left office, sir. Okay, so Trump gets elected in, what was it, just November of 2017? Everybody knows it's always an even year. I mean, everybody, third graders know this. At least third graders from when I went to school, because third graders don't know anything anymore. They don't teach them anything. He doesn't know when the election was. He doesn't know when he left office. And they're there and they're like, oh, you left office in January of 2017, sir. Now, if I'm getting investigated and interrogated by the DOJ, do you think I'm going to allow people, there's going to be people around there to help me get my answers straight? Unbelievable. So anyway, this is out. The book's coming out tomorrow. The pressure is high because people are asking questions. They know that the Trump administration is investigating everything they did because we know that it wasn't a legitimate presidency. It's blaringly clear. And I don't care what the left is going to continue to say. Oh, no way, no way, no way. BS. Enough with the gaslighting. We're done. We're done. We're not playing anymore. You want to tell me he was a legitimate president and he knew what was going on and he signed everything himself and he was sharp as a tack? I'm like, you're just out. I'm not even listening to you. I do not care what you have to say. We are done having a conversation because you think men can get pregnant and just carry on. Okay? So back to us, people who can actually think straight. Pressure's on. They're being investigated. They know that everyone that they ever made a deal with is going to be interrogated and possibly incriminated. So what do you do? What do you do? You're sitting around and you're going, Joe, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And someone from the back says, bust out the cancer. And so they decide to make a statement that Joe Biden has cancer. You change the narrative. Oh, as soon as we do this, no one's going to talk about the fact that somebody with Joe Biden as a puppet Weekend at Bernie's figurehead was running the country into the ground. We'll just totally forget about that. And we're all just going to think about Joe Biden's prostate. Are you crazy? For immediate release, May 18th, 2025, statement from the personal office of former President Joe Biden. Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, whatever that means, with metastasis to the bone. That's bad. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. All right, when I first heard this, I actually thought it was a lie. I'm like, they're just going to say anything at this point to distract us, to try to, change the media story. But, let's say it's real. Okay, first of all, I hope he's fine. I hope he doesn't suffer physically too well, because I'm not too worried about Joe Biden getting justice, because, unless he gets right with Jesus, he's going to get all the justice in the world. It's coming. He's going to get justice one way or another. But this isn't going as planned, because I think they thought it was just going to be a complete outpouring from everybody of love and sympathy and respect, and we were all going to forget about the destruction of America. No, that's not how it's going. The internet is going freaking crazy, and people are furious, like I am, rightfully so. So let's just think about how they thought this was going to play out. Well, they figured, okay, if all these investigations start ramping up, this is the perfect defense. Joe is not, he's sick. He's getting treated for cancer. He cannot come testify. You're just going to have to leave him alone. He's too old and sick. He's dying. Sorry. So that was it. Even Jill could be like, oh, I got to take care of my husband, even though she's a demon who dragged her demented husband onto stages around the world for years in what is one of the worst cases of elder abuse we have ever seen, that we were witness to the whole thing. And now knowing that he didn't just develop cancer 5 minutes ago, he has had it for years. In 2022, just side note, he slipped and said it. Check this out.
I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
That's why I and so many other people have cancer. They said that was just a mistake. Whoopsie. Yeah. Your husband had cancer. Your husband had dementia. You dragged him around. She is Satan, that woman. Anyway, so she's going to need a defense. Again, could be a ploy for sympathy. It's not working. Again, I don't wish him ill will. I despise the evil actions these people have taken. But I'm not a complete jerk. I don't wish cancer on anybody. But it's really hard for me to have sympathy, because the way I feel is I've used up most of my sympathy on the victims of illegal alien crimes. Like when I think about the 12-year-old girl from Houston, Jocelyn Nungray, who was kidnapped, tortured, raped, and murdered before she was strangled to death and had her body tossed in a ditch. Or when I think about Laken Riley or Rachel Morin or Travis Wolf or Scott Miller, and any number of people who were raped, robbed, and murdered by illegal aliens, my sympathy lies with them, not with the perpetrators. And Joe Biden and Jill Biden were the perpetrators in those cases. Maybe they just wanted, to try to distract. And they distracted a little bit, but not enough. And I would say on the left, the lefty media and the progressives, they are definitely taking the bait, because they didn't want to report on the Hur tapes, and they weren't going to really fully report on Jake Tapper's book either. They'll touch on it just to say that they did, but they're never going to really dig into it, and they're never going to report on all the investigations that are coming down the line. So let them all talk about cancer, while the rest of us who are wide awake to exactly how screwed up our government is continue to share the truth and get it out there. But this is funny. So longtime Democrat strategist David Axelrod, like he's been a campaign consultant to many presidents. He had this to say about the cancer diagnosis.
I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this.
So he was referring to the conversations about the book, the Hur tapes, who was behind the auto pen. Was Joe Biden even conscious when the auto pen signed all the pardons, blah, blah, blah. He's talking about that. And he's saying that they should be muted and set aside for now. Are you out of your freaking mind? These people destroyed America. We are not setting anything aside. Not setting anything aside. Not to mention that because of our government, because of all they take from big pharma and their poison medicines and all the money they make from big food and all the poison that's in our food, all the pesticides, hell, all just the pollution that they don't clean up. We've all got cancer. I remember when I was growing up, it was like if somebody had cancer, it was like, whoa, dude, that's crazy. Now it's like everybody. I don't know anybody whose family is not touched by cancer. So let's not act like this is all that big a deal. It's just part of it. We all got tumors growing out of our heads. So we're going to focus on who was running the country, who was pulling the puppet strings. David Axelrod, get bent. Oh, well. Anyway, how long this has been going on? There's just no way to know. Decades. But the Biden stuff has been going on since he ran in 2015, 2016, when he ran against, 2020, 2019, 2020. Look at me. See? Mixed up dates. But I'm not president, so it doesn't matter. Right from then, though, when he was running, we were lied to about his mental acuity. Now we know we were lied to about his physical health. We were lied to about who was signing the executive orders, who signed the pardons. Again, wonder if all those pardons against his family are binding. Interestingly enough, there was no pardon on Jill Biden. Was she so above the law, or so convinced, like the rest of them, that there was no way Donald Trump was ever going to get into office and none of these things would have ever seen the light of day? Could you imagine how the rats are scrambling right now? This is crazy. I mean, I kind of wish I was like a Washington, D.C. insider right now, just so I could see the meltdowns. The Pelosi's probably drinking herself to death while she packs her bags because she's going to fake her death and go to Venezuela or something like the Nazis. I mean, like, absolutely. Kamala, she knew everything. She going to go to jail? Anyway, my final thought on all of this is when you look at how they have abused us and lied to us and destroyed this nation in every possible way, culturally, socially, economically, the things they have done to the American people, they should be in jail for the rest of their lives. But it suddenly makes sense why they are so hell-bent on taking away our Second Amendment rights. Because when you abuse people for years in a blatant abuse of power, corruption, theft, treason, you want to make sure those people don't have guns, don't you? It all makes sense now. Anyway, get your guns while you still can. In the meantime, I think we're just at the very tip of this iceberg, and this is going to get really interesting. So stick around. Thanks for coming tonight. God bless you. And God, please bless America.